Thank you everybody for being here on the Lead Gen Underground. It is what I like to do here is bring on some high-level performers and some other people who can add value to our community, typically through these high-level gold nugget discussions. And gold nuggets to me are things that you can rip off and put into play right in your business, right? So that's why we're talking cold calling for the past half an hour, and just some specific things where the rubber meets the road. And I'm happy to have on Stratton today. Like I told you guys before, in full disclosure, I'm a client of his with Call Magicians. I think they've done a really good job so far. But Stratton knows a lot about cold calling. And so I wanted to bring him on and talk about cold calling in 2021 and really what's separating the beginners from the intermediates and the intermediates from the experts. So welcome to the show, Stratton. Tell us a little bit about yourself, buddy.
Thank you so much for having me on, bro. It means a lot. Once I got started in real estate, what is this, 4 years ago now? I was a college football player at Fresno State, got a shot at the Seahawks, thought I was going to make a fuck ton of money. Started reading all these real estate books. I go to the Seahawks, absolutely nothing comes from it. I still have a desire for real estate, so I eventually end up working for a guy. At a point in time, I'm running his whole company, running all the day-to-day, handling all the marketing. We built out a little in-house call center of about 8 people. And then eventually I left him, went on my own. And then the reason I started the call center is because I got screwed over by a guy who I met at a conference. And then I went through several other call centers that weren't delivering me the quality that I needed. At a point, I was at 8 cold callers. And it was hard for people to source up and keep it quality for me. And then COVID hit. And so I just started, people kept coming to me. So I eventually started my own company with my partner. I don't know if my partner's on here or not.
That's a good reason.
Yeah, hey, I'm here.
Who's your partner?
Chase Hancock.
There's Chase. I saw him pop up.
How you guys doing?
Great. How are you, man?
Good, good.
Well, cool. Tell me what separates, even from your perspective as, you know, a consumer, but now running the company, what separates an above average cold caller from one who's average or worse?
Confidence. I think confidence is the whole thing, right? Just having the confidence when you hop on the phone with them, because everybody will ask you about what script you use, this and that. You really have 3 seconds to get a hold of, like, to grab this person's attention. And then at the rest of it, you're just going to ask those questions as they come in, right? But having the confidence to talk to these people and having the knowledge of real estate and being able to hold that conversation for about 3 minutes with us, I don't want our callers to be talking to them forever. We need to leave some rapport meat on the bone for the salespeople. We want to gather some info and then shoot it over.
Man, this is why, right off the bat, this is why I decided to go with you, honestly, because I have a lot of cold calling experience myself and then in-house. But when I talked with you, your style was just like congruent with mine, right? Because one of the things that I differ in with a lot of people in opinion is I do not want my cold caller going in a 10-minute conversation.
No.
Like you just said, you're taking the meat of rapport off the bone. And then when you call again, guess what the person's going to say? I already told this to your caller. Like, why are you asking me again? And so when you're calling again, either qualify or make the offer, it's important to have that still to talk about. So I think that is one huge piece right there. And confidence is huge as well, because some of the worst callers I've heard is, you know, a lot of background noise and, hello, is this Mr. So-and-so? Oh, I hate that question. I just assume it's the person and start rolling into it, right? And the confidence is absolutely huge.
Right.
Talk a little bit about, you said 3 seconds, and that is another thing that I resonate with. And I tell my guys, when you call back to qualify, you have 12 seconds for them to decide if they'll give you 2 minutes. You have 12 seconds, right? So talk to me about your philosophy of 3 seconds, why that's important, how you set yourself apart.
So you only have 3 seconds because the bread and butter of your business, I don't care what anybody says, is going to be high equity at a point in time. Like once you get to scale, there's just no more data. Like, I don't care. Like, you can have all this niche down data, but then you are like, okay, well, I need to still spend on marketing. What do I do? Everyone's going to tell you, you know what? You just need to start hitting high equity. And so with all these people who are getting high equity, all these owners are getting calls from everybody, from absolutely everybody. So what are you doing to just separate yourself a little bit, right? And our callers don't use my exact script, right? Because I just call them up like, what's going on, John? I was calling about your property on 123 Main Street. I just want to see if you're interested in selling it all. Like, that's all I am. And I'm catching them off guard with that. Our callers are a lot more passive, but still confident, to where they're asking, hi, I don't know if you can help me at all, but I was looking for the owner of 123 Main Street, right? To where we don't want to come off as too aggressive, because like if they get, I can get into that conversation where I can talk the shit with the seller, and I'm not going to get laughed off the phone or talked off the phone. It's like when you get into multifamily and just first start cold calling, they're assholes, right? To where we don't want that type of situation with our callers.
Yeah, absolutely. That's huge. The first 3 seconds, guys. So take that to note if you're cold calling yourself. It's been very important to me and in my business that we use pattern interrupts. And what is that? That is something where when you're calling someone on the phone, just visualize. You have to know that the people you're calling are scared. Scared of what? Who knows, right? But if they were a fighter, their hands would be right up here. And if you say the wrong thing, their hands are going up over their eyes, and that means click. They're hanging up the phone. So if you sound like a salesman, they're going to treat you like a salesman. And so this 3 seconds right here is one of the most important things, right? A pattern interrupt. And so it might even be asking, hey, Stratton, how's your day? Right? That would be my second line. But it just, it takes them, it steps back and they're like, wait a minute, it's not a sales guy. They asked how my day was, like very quick.
Yep.
So it just lowers their sales guard and they open up to you. It's amazing how that happens. Okay, fantastic. Stratton, what are some of the things that are important to avoid if you're, just say someone's just starting cold calling and they don't know what to do? What are at least a few of the things they should avoid doing?
I'm mentoring a dude right now, and he attached his cell phone number to his cold calling thing, to call tools, and he was using that as his caller ID. You don't want to do that. One, your phone's going to get blown up all the time, and then your own cell phone number is going to get spammed. Another thing, me and Chase were talking about this beforehand, you're going to cheap out on the DIDs, and those are the caller IDs or the phone numbers. We are, per agent, Chase can correct me if I'm wrong, we're buying 10 to 13 numbers per agent.
Yeah,
And
we
we're
used to be doing
checking
5.
those,
Now
right?
we moved it up to 10.
Because everything will get spammed. Like we're checking them every 2 weeks and still rotating them, but then we'd still go back and check, and Chase is using a different carrier that we're testing out, to where there's 5 different companies.
Yeah, they're called carrier authorities, like Robo Killer, True Caller, and a few others. No More Robo. They're all flagging them. And so basically, if you're doing like 150, if you're doing more than 150 outbound dials a day per caller ID, you're likely to get flagged by at least the FTC. And for most like platforms like Call Tools, they only show you FTC flags. They don't show you all the 4 other flags.
That's good stuff right there. Okay. Yeah. So make sure that you're not attaching your cell phone. That's a very good one. Here's another reason why there is that people are going to have missed calls and they're going to call you back and they're going to say, who is this? You're going to say, I called you. What'd you call about? I think I called about your house. Which one? No idea. You're on your cell phone. Right? All right. That's a good one. What else you got, buddy?
What's something someone else should avoid? And that's what the question is, right?
Yes.
Think new people that they should avoid. I would say just putting your foot in your mouth. Like, you don't want to come across as like you know everything, right? We run into this with our leads managers, to where they do too much talking. Like, you're still doing sales, man. Like, you just want to ask them open-ended questions and let them talk.
Yep.
Like, you don't want to be like, oh, well, you're going to 1031 exchange out of this, blah, 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 and like try and show them your know-how. They don't care.
Yeah.
Like, they care about themselves, and they care about, can this dude solve my problem, or can he buy my house or property?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's good stuff right there. Okay, cool.
That's another one. I'm trying to think of one more like rookie mistake that people make. The talking too much overall,
Yes.
not asking good questions, and then just being cheap with the DIDs, and even setting your own caller ID is one.
Okay. Yeah, that's good stuff right there for the newbies out there. If you're a newbie, what dialer should you be starting with, you think?
I mean, you can use Mojo. I think Mojo is a great platform for people just getting started out. I like Call Tools, and batch dialer is still good. Zen Call is a little bit much, right, for someone just getting started out. But Mojo, if you're just getting started out, is super basic.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more expensive though. I think Call Tools and batch dialer are right there, to where either one of those are going to take care of you.
Yeah, I think a lot of people start out with Mojo, even like the single line dialer. And when I started with, I couldn't afford like the triple line, so I started with the single line, and you get the hang of it, and then a few bucks and move up, right? But yeah, okay, good stuff. Okay, let's talk about. It's all the rage now since COVID, really, for virtual wholesaling, right? Like a lot of people have jumped in the arena, and a lot of people are talking about that now. So where would you, like, if you're running a whole operation and you have cold calling coming in, where do you ideally want the conversation to stop with your cold caller? And then where do you want it to pick up with your lead manager, inside sales guy?
Oh, that's a good one. So we want to gather just 4 basic things. So I want to know, what's their timeline? When do they want to sell it by? What's the condition of the property? What's their motivation? And what's their price? And then at that point, we're just passing it over. And you're just going to do a soft pass over, like, awesome, thank you so much for taking your time to talk to us. Someone from our office should be reaching out to you. And then whenever our client's time window is, right? Some people do live transfers. Some people do in the next 24 hours. Some people do within an hour. But our client, someone from our office will be reaching out to you as soon as possible. They're going to be great and they're going to take care of you. Having that good, warm pass off, to where you somewhat hype them up about it and they already feel a good customer experience.
Yeah, absolutely. That's huge. The pass off is one that we're personally working on ourselves right now when we're getting warmer or hot leads from our lead manager. So that's another Philippine VA, but not in-house. But when we're getting warm or hot leads from him, what we call opportunities, we're working on the live transfer there. Because I found that we're chasing still too many of them far too long. And I'd like to cut down on that time right there.
Oh yeah. And the leads manager needs, from what I've seen with my leads manager, we want it to be a serious hype up. Like, and we're going to use first name basis now. Like, okay, when's the best time to call you? Is there any reason we won't be able to get a hold of you? If we can't get a hold of you, what's the best way? Are you going to let us know? And if we can't get a hold of you, what is the best way to get a hold of you? Like, what's the second time we can get a hold of you? Like, we want to verify all these things because, again, I guarantee you, all of you guys have leads in your CRM that you cannot get a hold of, but you know what to do.
Oh, so much. All right. In your own business, are you ever mailing? Here's one thing that woke me up to this. Are you ever mailing people that are already in your database, or do you continue mailing them?
I just started that actually this month, is mailing people in my database. And I'm not even a big direct mail guy. Now we're direct mailing self-storage units, but the only mail I've started to send out is courthouse niche, to where there's like 500 of them, but I know the city's on them. I know something serious is going on, and again, just niche down, and then people in our database to where you can just keep mailing them.
Okay, cool. Got it. All right, let's step back just straight into cold calling. I know there's a lot of people who are wanting to start, or maybe are just getting started, and they're, looking at, a lot of them are wondering, is what I'm doing completely wrong? Because it doesn't seem like it's working. What are the numbers, right? A lot of the questions I've gotten today and yesterday about cold calling are like, what are the numbers I should look at? Like, I know I should look at like connects, but beyond that, what should I look at to know if my cold calling campaigns are working? So what would you say to that? What should someone keep their eye on?
You want to see your connection rate, right? So above 10% at least. And then I'd say you want to at least be pulling out a lead a day. As you get better, you're going to be pulling out more and more leads a day. But those are the two biggest things: your connection rate, making sure that you're not spammed. And those are the two biggest things. And then I'd tell most people don't spend enough time doing it. Like, if you're only cold calling for an hour a day, you're never going to win.
That's right.
Like, you have to dedicate several hours a day. I remember cold calling for like 12 hours a day. I'd wake up, cold call. And if you can't break through and gain any type of market share if you're only cold calling for 2 hours a day and expect to get 5 leads, right? At points in time, Chase and I have 8 personal callers going.
That's nice.
How are you going to break through and get to those homeowners when our callers are already getting there? You got to get some market share.
Absolutely. So if someone is just starting out too, right? For a long time, I managed my own, handed them over to you. What do you think the difference is? How would someone make that decision? I know you have the agency, and so you might have some biases there, but if someone's thinking, should I hire someone or should I myself, or should I, hire an agency? What's like the difference there, do you think?
I mean, number one, you have a sales background. Like, we don't take clients of, if you are just getting started in real estate, you should never hire an agency. Unless you have like a strong sales background and you at least know what you're talking about, because then you're just burning $5,000. Right? You're just burning your money because number one, you don't know what to do with the leads. And number two, you don't even know what to tell the agency that you're unhappy with.
Yeah. So DIY up front.
Yeah, without a doubt. I don't know, or at least educate yourself seriously.
Yeah.
But I don't think you should get it an agency until you are overwhelmed, right? To where, okay, I'm focused on too many things. I know I can outsource this, so I can afford it. Let's outsource it.
Yeah.
And then you at least know how to tell the outsourcer you're unhappy is the second one.
So much. Yeah, I agree 100%. That was almost a trick question because that's how I got started. And, I just pounded the phones for years and years and years myself as the cold caller, right? And then I just knew it so intimately so that when I could hire the next person, I knew exactly what to tell them to do and exactly what to avoid. And then that person can train the next person. So it starts to kind of grow. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
But if you don't even know how to handle objections in your market yourself, it's going to be impossible to teach your caller how to do that. So there's only a handful of objections, but there's some that are local. So in my opinion as well, you have to start yourself and at least get some reps in and see what it's like to be in that position. So I like your answer a lot. That was really good.
You gotta get the reps in. We turned away several people. Like, it's not even, I wouldn't feel comfortable taking your money, right? And then like we both know what it's like to just be in it. And if you're just in it talking actual qualified leads, then you get overwhelmed and it's going to be depressing too.
Yeah, sure. Cool. So say someone is, starting to do some deals. I got 2 callers. You guys got 8. How do you pick that? Are you just reverse engineering how many deals you're trying to do, how large your market is? How do you go about and determine that?
It just depends on what you want to do, right? For me, it fluctuates with our trainees. And so I have 8 by necessity. And you don't want to, and again, I'm going to shoot myself in the foot, but there's only so much data, dude. You don't want to get a bunch of cold callers and then you call through your market of 100,000 people in a month. Then what are you going to do? You can't call those people over again. You got to pick a new market.
Yeah. Okay. So go back there. How many times, this was asked before, how many times should you call someone? And then after you call that, what happens? Like, what's the plan?
Call them until it's exhausted. What you're going to run into is a list just doesn't perform anymore. And then you'll put that list on the back burner.
Yep.
And then you can either re-skip trace them or you can just come back to it in like 6 months and see how it happens.
Mm-hmm.
It just depends on your business preference.
Yeah, absolutely. So exhausted, generally for us, we see a big fall off after 3 or after 4. Yeah.
3 is about the
Definitely.
3. And then if you can pull, like, squeeze more juice out of it after 4, cool. But generally at about 3 times through, you're going to exhaust that thing.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. Okay, cool. So let's go. When you rest them, is there a period where you let them sit aside and then you go to new numbers, or what's the thing from there?
For me, I let them rest for like 6 months and then we can see, do we want to turn it back on? And when we turn it back on, does it perform?
Sure.
And then if it doesn't perform, just re-skip trace it.
Okay.
But I'd say six months, 3 months if you want to try it, but it just depends on how much data you have as well.
Okay, cool. Anything in between to those same people, like maybe an RVM or maybe a piece of mail?
I don't like RVM whatsoever. At least in my markets, it's worthless. Like the amount I'd have to drop. And then for mail, again, that's your business preference on, do you want to be omnipresent? I've done deals to where we were Jennifer, right? Our cold caller was Jennifer, our RVM was Jennifer, our piece of mail was Jennifer. And so the guy's like, God damn it, Jennifer, I'm gonna sell you my house. Right. So it's however you want to approach it in that way.
Okay, sure, that makes sense. You had mentioned some data, and this is when we're talking cold calling, data is very important, obviously, and people are always asking, what's the best list? And it's almost a trick question. I'll explain why, but when someone asks you what's the best list, what do you say?
The basic stuff, right? So you're going to have your niche stuff, your vacants. I'd say your best list is your most highly motivated one. So let's say it's vacant, out of state owner, it has a code violation and a tax lien, and maybe it's a probate. That sounds like someone who may need to sell that house.
Yeah.
So the more you can niche down, awesome. But my best list is high equity, man. Right.
Okay.
Most of our stuff comes from high equity, and then the niche down stuff, there's not enough of it to keep marketing to them with just cold calling. That's when you start throwing in other things.
Yeah, absolutely. That's good stuff. Now, when it comes to skip tracing, I think there's a few big sources out there, and most everyone else pulls from these big sources, IDI and TLO and stuff like that. What's your preference on skip tracing, where you get your data from, or how you skip trace and that kind of thing?
So we use batch, and we white label batch with rocket skip tracing, and we use direct skip. When one doesn't come back, we send it to the other. And then I just want to aggregate it and see if I can get the best results. But again, they are pulling it all from the same places. Sometimes just something gets messed up.
Yeah, absolutely. So you feel like batch has been solid for you guys in terms of data accuracy and stuff like that?
Yeah, batch has been good. And anything that doesn't work with batch, we use direct skip.
Yeah, cool. Awesome.
What about you guys?
We use pretty much batch everything, man. We were using ZenCall for a while, but for all the data and marketing side, we use batch everything. Meaning, batch got its name with skip tracing and then the stacker, right? And now it's just batch leads. But we use batch really as like a database where we deploy all of our marketing lists from. So whenever we're pulling new lists, and we'll go from PropStream, we'll go from batch, we'll go from Remine, the MLS, the county, we're pulling data from all these sources, and then we're importing it into batch and putting appropriate tags and dates and stuff like that. And then so we track the input and we track the list, and then we also track all the output with tags. So meaning whenever we export it to a list, we tag it, right? So we know exactly how many marketing campaigns a record has gone through. So we're using batch as that centralized database, essentially.
I love that. And if you don't have batch or a lead stacker, you're doing yourself a disservice, and you're probably costing yourself more money in skip tracing.
It's the truth, honestly. Yeah, to save your money from duplicates or redundant skip traces or return mail and that kind of stuff, it definitely helps you track and really zone in a lot more. And here's another good example of that. We just ordered our mail, right? And we had about, I think, 11 or 12,000 pieces. And because we use batch and they have the new features on it that show you what's vacant, what's listed, what's pending, what just closed, we were able to scrub off like 1,000 records of stuff that was currently listed, under contract, or just sold. So think about how big that is.
That's massive.
Yeah.
Massive.
Absolutely. All right, cool. So we've talked about dialers, we've talked about data, we've talked about some lists, and we've talked about scripting now. Is there anything else that's really important in terms of cold calling for someone to get started?
Persistence, just like anything else, man. You got to get used to getting your face kicked in, right? If you can't make it cold calling, it's gonna be really hard for you to make it in real estate, because even though all these people say they're closing deals daily, you and I both well know that there's some shitty days, and you got to be able to. You're building that resistance cold calling that's gonna help you get through these hard business days, in my honest opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you're right. I think it comes down to putting in the reps all the way through. And cold calling to me is just going to the gym and doing more bicep curls, right? It's the hard work.
Yep.
It is. But the thing is, the truth is, if you do it consistently, you're going to have a pipeline full of deals, or at least whatever kind of deals however many deals you want to put in there. Cold calling will definitely be able to push that out for you.
Without a doubt. And I don't think if anyone else needs to get started, I mean, find a dialer and don't be afraid to spend the money, man. You can't be afraid to spend the money. That's one thing people get afraid of.
Yeah.
And the number one thing, I mean, when I got started, bro, I was donating plasma twice a week for marketing money. Single dad, right? So like, it's worth it. It's worth it. You just got to keep pushing.
Yeah, that's intense. Okay, cool. Well, I think we've beat up cold calling pretty good. Let's step down the funnel a little bit. And let's talk about virtual wholesaling a little bit more. And let's talk about offering over the phone. This is something that I think trips a lot of people up is, okay, the person's raised their hand and said, yes, I'm a lead. And then you've called them back and they say, yes, I'm interested in selling pretty soon. Yes, I will take a discount to be able to do that. Where do we go from there? A lot of people freeze up and they're not sure how to make offers, especially if you're transitioning from, an in-person, acquisitions manager to now on the phone. What should the process be from once you start collecting that information? They want to sell their hand raiser. How do you get to that offer? How do you transition to that successfully?
Oh man, I wasn't prepared for this one. So for me, I love to make it an appointment. It's an actual thing, right? I'm not just going to give them a random offer unless it's someone who is a tire kicker. And at least for me, I get somewhat lazy and I'm like, okay, I'll offer you 50,000. Right. But if it's an actual lead, I want to make sure that we have both decision makers on the phone. I want to make sure they don't have anybody else to talk to first. And I want to make sure they're in front of a computer so I can send them the documents. I don't want to just give them an offer and let them mull it over. I want to let them know, like, okay, this is the outcome. So when I'm talking to them, I'm like, okay, John, you know what? It's looking like we're going to be between here and here. When is a good time that you'd be by your computer? And is there anyone else you'd want to talk to or anything else before you did decide to sell to us or anybody else? And he's going to tell me yes or no. Right. And if he tells me yes, I'm like, okay, well, let's get them on the phone.
So
like, how can I talk to said person?
Absolutely.
So that's that transition that you need to make and then you never just send it, dude. Never just send the goddamn documents ever, no matter what they say. Hold that shit to your chest because they will go dark on you so fast. And then you just lost a couple hours of your time and then someone else is buying that damn house.
Oh, so frustrating. I think anybody who's cold calling in here or doing deals has probably felt that. And that's someone ghosting you. And then you find out later the deal got sold, a competitor got the deal, and you're like, wait, I was so close. I actually just had that happen to me. The guy didn't ghost me, but went with someone else because of something in his perception. I didn't get back to him quick enough. So yeah, I mean, it's always a tough thing. But okay, so you are of the opinion now that you're getting someone in front of the computer and you're sending them the DocuSign or the document via email right then?
Oh yeah, I'm sending it right then and I want to go over it with them right then. But it doesn't have to be, I will wait to give them the offer until I know they're going to be by a computer. Because I don't want to have multiple, like it's a chain. I don't want to have a lot of kinks. I just want to have a 1-2 and get it over with. And I'm going to go over the documents with them. Like, okay, this is what this means. This is what this means. Not, okay, I'll go review it with my wife. Like, oh no, I'll be on the phone with you. Sometimes people don't sometimes people are afraid to ask things too, right? And a 2-page document might scare said person.
Yeah.
That's no issue, right? But then you have to have the rapport built and the trust there to be able to explain, hey, here's our contract. And you need to know your contract to explain to them, hey, this is going to happen. These are our steps. This is the next step in our process. Absolutely. These are what these clauses mean. And that way, like they feel your confidence. Again, this whole thing is about confidence now and taking that next step forward with them.
Absolutely. Great answer. Aisha asks, what if the seller is motivated, but the asking price is too much? How do you negotiate a lower price?
I'd throw my anchor offer and see what they say.
Anchor offer.
And an anchor offers just a number that I see. Well, I see a house over here on Zillow sold for X, and I'm not going to say a word. And they're going to laugh me off the phone, and they're like, oh, well, I want to throw them something, right, to see if they even budge. And then you just don't want to waste your time too much with that person. Try and send it to a friend or maybe even try and pitch terms to them.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great answer there too. Yeah, so the offer thing, wow, that was a really good answer on the offer. We're not even to the point yet where we're getting them live on the phone with the DocuSign, though that's where I want to be. That's a pretty tough transition there in my experience from nailing down the logistics of getting 1, 2, or 3 people on the phone, right? So that's been the biggest hurdle for us in that regard.
Right. When you get to a probate one, it's a lot harder. But if you're doing it with a husband and wife and a husband, or like just one person or 1 to 2 people, even if you have 3 people and you can put them on a group call, that's the way you want to do it.
Yeah, that's really good stuff too. All right, guys, if you have any questions, drop them below. We only have a few minutes left here on the backside of the show. Rory asks, would the 3 times be recycling or redialing? I'm not quite sure.
So when you recycle it, you're redialing said person.
Yeah. So after 3 times, you're letting it like kind of rest for a little bit and then recycling it to redial later on. Is that right?
Yeah. Say that one more time. You let it rest and then, it's recycled and then you dial it again.
Right. So the recycling is the redialing, right?
Yep.
Okay. Got it. Okay, cool. Anybody else have any questions down below? We just got 1 minute left. Stratton. All right. It seems like you got a lot going on over there, my man. You got the agency, you got your own business. Talk to me a little bit about like, what's your BHAG? What's your big, hairy, audacious goal? Where do you want to get to in life? Because, you know, a lot of the high performers I talk to have, you know, some sort of vision for what they want. It's not just endlessly marching and doing cold calls every single day for the rest of their life.
Man, I want a jet. I want a private jet. I have a vision board. I want a house in Malibu. I want another house in Salt Lake City, Utah, on about 3,000 acres. Well, so like I got a lot of big things I want to achieve. I want to see what it's like to live like that, right?
Absolutely.
Like before I got into this, I didn't even think some of the shit I'm doing is possible. If you would have told me I'd make 6 figures in a month, right? I'd be like, what?
Yeah, right.
You know, like it's not even. So I want to see what that's like. First of all, getting 6 figures coming in passively. And like, how does my life look like? What am I doing at that point? What big business things am I going after? Because at a point in time, scaling up your real estate business is not always just a bigger wholesale business. I have a friend who's converting hotels. Like he's in politics now, bro. You know, like it's a completely different game. He's in big time development and everything else. And so I'm excited to see where that takes me.
Nice. That's cool. You got bigger visions. Christian asked, what's your opinion on setting an appointment with the seller on the first cold call if you're the cold caller?
That's fine.
It's fine.
Yeah, that's fine.
I think he means for a traditional appointment. Okay, that's cool.
Oh, for a traditional appointment? It's up to you, man, to see where they're at. And it's the easiest to do that with you if you're making the calls.
Cool.
I don't ever have cold caller set appointments. It's a dangerous game.
Okay, cool. I got a few realtor friends on here. What kind of tip can you give where maybe it's different for realtors? Or how could realtors like benefit from cold calling? I know a lot of them are really starting to do that, at least in my area now, just to drum up a lot more business.
Oh man, it's awesome for realtors because you guys get to capture all the leads, right? There's nothing you can't monetize. The stuff we throw away, they can at least try and pitch that with a listing. They get to keep that commission. With us, we refer it out.
Yeah.
But then if you're a realtor, you can list it, you can offer them terms, and you can offer them cash. So if they really do need to sell, you're monetizing that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's good stuff right there. So you guys do work with realtors?
Yeah, like we work with a ton of realtors who are realtors and investors.
Yeah.
I don't think we work with anybody who's just a realtor, but it's not that much harder, right? We can send you tons of leads.
Yeah.
The hard part for us is getting someone with who fits our buy box.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Well, this has been awesome, man. You shed a lot of light into how your operation runs and what you guys are operating by in terms of principles and tactics. So I definitely enjoy that. Tell everyone where to find you, where to follow you online, and just like a second about your business.
Best place to find me is just Strat Daddy on Instagram. Guys can add me on Facebook. I have a podcast called The Winning Move. And then if you guys are interested in cold callers or leads managers or really VAs, go to callmagicians.com. Say you've heard about us from this. Is this podcast alive? It's alive.
It's live, yep.
Say you heard about us from this live and we'll give you a great discount.
Nice. That's awesome, man. Well, I appreciate it. I think your service has been awesome for us so far. I just look back and in the past 30 days, we're at something like 55 leads with just 2 callers. So it's like legit working. We have a few under contract right now. And anyway, thanks for sharing so much, man. Hope you guys go out there and crush it. And I hope that, you know, we've dropped some value on you here that you can use in your own business. Any parting words, Strat?
Don't give up, man. Never give up.
Never give up. Keep hammering, guys. Hope you guys have a great day. Thank you for showing up here and invite some of your friends to the group. Stratton, thank you so much for your time, my friend. And I look forward to talking to you again.
Awesome. Thanks, man. You too. Thanks for having me on.
Great one, guys. Bye-bye.